2002 ended with new love, new friends, and a new identity. Little did I know that I was standing on a trapdoor. This is the story of me falling into darkness. The year 2003. What a humdrum year. Yeah, I know. Some wars started and the United States military weren't able to find those elusive weapons of mass destruction. But they found some dictator they couldn't eliminate 12 years earlier. I went to a lot of sports games, either by myself, with friends, or with Emily. Speaking of which, I would hit a milestone with Emily that I hadn't reached with anyone else up until that point. The 1-year anniversary. During that time, we shared a lot. Movie nights on her couch, naps in each other's arms, our minds, souls, and bodies. She introduced me to how Hanukkah was celebrated, along with the Passover Seder. She helped me see my favorite band live in concert. We would have a couple of classes together in college that year. December 2003 shall be a good jumping on point to begin this chapter. I was finishing up my last English class in college. Emily would be alongside me for it. She and I read and analyzed novels such as Cold Mountain. I would read about some kid who wore glasses and went to some school for wizards. I actually liked it. The final English paper I ever wrote was about one of my favorite authors, Nicholas Sparks. I got a B on it or something. With the English requirements cleared, I had one more class to check off. On December 23rd, I would visit Emily and her friends and family in the East Bay. We celebrated a night of Hanukkah, exchanged gifts, and I spent the night at her house. I would get home in the afternoon on Christmas Eve. 3 days later, the trapdoor opened under my feet. It wouldn't be the last time. December 27th, another Saturday I'm working. I was listening to the new Offspring CD I got for Christmas on another short drive to work. I was preparing to enter the restaurant for another day of work when the owner stopped me. A brief recap. After the old owners reclaimed the mom and pop eating place and reopened in 2002, it would sell once again near the autumn of that year. A nice couple who tried everything they could to make a few extra dollars on a somewhat turnkey operation. Near the end of 2003, the restaurant was a sinking ship. The hours were getting cut, and even the hours of operation were changed. During most of the week, they were open a couple of hours for lunch, then opened a few hours for dinner. Anyway, I screwed up royal in a vain attempt to help them out and it sort of rubbed them the wrong way. On top of that, I was expensive in 2003 dollars. I'll admit this as well. I was starting to act a little bulletproof because of my long-standing working there. They asked for my key back and told me to scram. That was it. I lost the job I had since I was 17. It wasn't a glamorous job, but there was a certain humiliation I felt after getting fired. Instead of going home, I went to Linus and his girlfriend's house to hang out. I watched the Niners lose to the Seahawks and watched this movie about a bunch of pirates. It was supposed to be based on a ride at Disneyland or something. Later that night, I called Emily and told her what had happened. Whatever. After my humiliating termination, I took in a couple of games at the end of the year before the calendar flipped. In 2004, there would be dramatic changes. Emily's parents were getting ready to sell off their travel agency in the East Bay. They were moving to Southern California, and Emily would be going with them. If I wanted to keep the relationship going, I would have to uproot the first 3 decades of my life and go with them. In early January, we all took an airplane flight down to the area. We spent the night at Emily's brother's condo in Pasadena and then headed further south to the San Diego area. Specifically San Marcos for school and Escondido to live. Emily and I found a possible apartment to live in. Her parents were set to close escrow on their new house in Escondido. After our business concluded, we would spend the next day or so enjoying the sights and sounds of San Diego. I tried out some lamb at this place founded by the wife of the singer of Bad Bad Leroy Brown. During my visit to San Diego, I was experiencing high anxiety. Sure, I would be moving far away with the woman I love, but I would be moving far away from whatever family and friends I had left. During our stay in the San Diego area, I saw the Mormon temple there. I think I mentioned that in my days as a saint. After returning to Northern California, I had bigger fish to fry. I now had a plan after graduation. I would be taking off to Southern California after the spring semester ended in May. I would draw unemployment after a snag in the plans and focused on finishing my degree. All I had to do was scrub one last F, and that was in biology. The shiftless days went on. Emily and I joined forces to start and finish one of my favorite PS2 games, Gauntlet Dark Legacy. It's okay, she had a Super Nintendo growing up. I lucked out and got somewhat of a gamer girl by my side. We went to more sports games together, including an indoor lacrosse game for the short-lived San Jose Stealth. Oh, and I went to probably the most memorable Sharks game ever. Fast forward to the month of May. Time was running out, but there would be a massive change of plan. After much discussing and tears between us, Emily would be moving to Southern California without me. I couldn't explain it, but I'm sure I left them an impression that I wasn't ready to leave my own nest yet. After we went to a Giants game with the rest of my friends on May 15th, we broke the news to our group of friends. I knew our relationship was now on borrowed time, but Emily was already itching to find a new prospect. Could I have waited until she moved out of her apartment and my town? On to something more cheerful. I did it. I got a pretty good grade in my biology class, and that would be the last handful of credits I needed to fulfill the requirements to earn my associate's degree. After 9 years, it would be all over. I had no plans to transfer to university at that time. I just wanted to finish what I started when I was 17. I would graduate with 3 of my friends. In fact, Remy and I would be in the same graduating class. Graduation night was low-key, because in less than 24 hours, my heart would take another bludgeoning. I should have left Emily out to dry after she decided to break it off with me, but I didn't. I'd make one last trip to her apartment on that Saturday morning to help her finish with the packing and cleaning up. It was a small one-bedroom apartment she lived in that we were cleaning out, so there wouldn't be much. My heart cracked as each part of her furniture was hauled downstairs to the moving van. The couch we cuddled while we watched something on TV. The table set we would eat the occasional meal on. The bed we shared naps and our intimate moments in. Once the apartment was empty, I would give Emily one last kiss goodbye as she began her new life, and I would stay behind. Since we decided not to do the long distance thing weeks prior, chalk it up to another failed relationship. I was with Emily for 20 months. I guess it was better than the 9 months with Lucy and the 56 days I had with Remy. It sure didn't take the sting away. That summer, our group of friends were a broken hearts club. I wasn't the only one to experience a loss. 2 of the breakups in the group came with full-blown drama and gashes that took years to heal. I simply suffered in silence. So begins the summer of nothing. No job, no more school, no lady that need tending. There were a lot of things I did to fill the gigantic void. I did another one-man reality show when I had the house to myself in the middle of June. But everything else I did, I'll just dig into my archives for further details. Every day for a while, I woke up looking for some purpose to my existence. Wake up, work out, read, play video games, do something around the house, work on the highlight reels, watch movies, the occasional hanging out with friends, watch sports, sleep, repeat. Since I had nothing going on in the summer, I started looking for work. My unemployment claim would eventually run out before the summer ended. While I was at a job interview in July, someone recognized me from the restaurant I was fired from. They told me it went under before the summer. Looks like I would have left that place one way or another. It did me a favor throwing me off the sinking ship like useless luggage. In August, I went to another Giants game with my friend and went back to the workforce. Early mornings and commutes to another town were in my future. But it was nice to have something to look forward to each day, besides watching the 2004 Olympics in Athens. The losses kept coming. I was working in Salinas one Friday, and I spent my lunch hour at a mall for reasons unknown even to me. When I came back to my car, I noticed something missing. I must have forgotten to lock my car door. My CD player and my stash of CDs were gone. But this wasn't just my stash of music that got swiped. It was something that was irreplaceable. It was the stash that was created by me. All of my memories, the series of my one-man reality shows, my unhinged ramblings, the moments where I and my friends laughed our tails off, gone. The comedy albums from George Carlin and Sam Kinison could be replaced, but the ones where I was the star, those weren't. I was crestfallen. Being the rational deist I was, I handled the theft with seething grace. I knew why this happened, so I wasn't too heavy-hearted by it. This is what happens when you don't lock your cars in Salinas. In the fall of 2004, I was like a character that lived on their lowest ebb. Lowly grocery store employee at the bottom of the totem pole by morning. A brooding individual who enjoys, among other things, a good debate in the Yahoo chat rooms while I was off the clock. I would have went to the NHL chat rooms to discuss the upcoming season, but there was a little problem. The first lockout in 10 years would postpone the beginning of the season. So where else could I have gone? There was always the Christian chat rooms. I got into healthy debates with those followers of that guy named Jesus. Sure, I crossed the line a few times, but I also met some people that wanted to know me, or try to convert me, I wasn't sure. But I returned their respect in kind when it was given to me. While I worked, I thought of stuff to keep my creative juices flowing. I created an alter ego that would be born on Halloween that year. A black-hatted, black jersey sporting dagger mage named Dixon Laker. I remember dressing the part while passing out candy on Halloween night. Some knew it was an act, however I drew a little fear from some of the trick-or-treaters. Maybe that was a vibe I wanted to give off. Since Emily left, I would keep a lot of people at arm's length. As I look back on it, I did that because I held a lot of mistrust in my heart, or I simply thought no one cared. Linus talked about how horrible his ex was at least once a week over a period of months. I, on the other hand, kept all of my feelings of emptiness bottled up as I suffered in silence. I would sometimes sleep excessively after work. There were days when I came home from work in the afternoon and holed up in my den for the rest of the day. Truly a life of solitude. I continued to merely exist. Work was fine, and I dealt with the hustle and bustle of working in a store that was built from the ground up. But my belief system that caused me to rebel against God was slowly poisoning me from the inside. I just didn't know or wanted to believe it at that time. I had a motto behind my deism. I'm a deist. I thank him, not ask him. Because I believed it would be futile to ask God for anything. God couldn't help me get out of the dark hole I was in, could he? I knew, not thought, knew I tried too hard to rely on myself to heal. Thanksgiving came and went. Work was insane, but I was prepared for it many times from my boss. That fourth Thursday in November had me working on that holiday. I had nothing going on, and I could have used the extra cash. My descent into darkness continued when the Christmas season started. While I had spent many holiday seasons in my youth lonely and still survived, it was different in 2004. The soundtrack to my job was a torture session. How many versions of Jingle Bells is too many? Santa Claus is coming to town. Is he really? I thought my reasoning had established that Santa Claus doesn't exist. Oh, to Britney Spears and Mariah Carey? Santa's not getting you a boyfriend for Christmas. You're on your own there, ladies. I was still finding ways to outdo myself. Sure, a friend in the group threw a nice Christmas party to give Josh a year off from hosting his annual party. That was nice, but I still wasn't the life of the party. I didn't act like Ebenezer Scrooge. I did give gifts. But I had a disdain for the holiday that year. So much that I wasn't counting down the days until Christmas. I was counting down the days to Saturnalia. My madness ran so deep, why not observe Hanukkah for another year? Emily was gone, but why not get a menorah and a box of candles? I didn't know the Baruch all that well, but I was able to sing the Israeli national anthem in Hebrew. That's what I did as I lit the 44 total candles over an 8-night period. The countdown to Christmas was capped off with a movie. In this same year, Peter Cetera of Chicago fame released a Christmas album, which would be his final studio album. One of the songs was called Alone for the Holidays. If you wanted to sum up my 2004 holiday season with one song, this would be it. I spent Christmas Eve alone. I had dinner at a place that sold deep dish pizzas alone. I had plans to see a movie alone. Sort of. Have you ever been at a mall after 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve? It was the same feeling walking through a ghost town. Many of the shops were closed and everyone had left to be with their families. Quiet, empty, lonely. I sat with my popcorn and watched the movie. If it was the year 2000 or even 2001, it was a movie Lucy and I might have been first in line to see on opening night, The Phantom of the Opera. I enjoyed it very much and cried near the end. Watching Christine Daae give the Phantom her ring and wordlessly saying goodbye brought out tears from my eyes. I could identify with the Phantom at that time. Lonely and misunderstood, without the stalker and killing tendencies. Christmas Day came and it was the only time I had a smile on my face. Maybe it was because I was giving and getting stuff that my mood lightened that day. Amid a busy New Year's cracking crabs for customers, I would take in a college bowl game. It was the last ever Silicon Valley football classic to be played in San Jose. It started late, hardly anyone made it out due to the teams involved, and it rained most of the night. My kind of football game. I got home after midnight and had to work the next morning. I didn't care. I could just get an extra nap in after work on New Year's Eve. Drop the ball, Dick. Oh, that's right. Dick Clark had a stroke in 2004 and couldn't make it to Times Square. Nowhere to go but up in 2005, right?
Happy 2005. Here's Old Lang Syne. My gosh, Guy Lombardo's band started this back in 1929 right here in New York City. Probably not too far from that scene. There's Ashley Simpson out in Hollywood.